Good morning, Bucknutters, and welcome to the Morning Five on Friday, July 25th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, four-star tight end C.J. Conrad from LaGrange, Ohio, will attend and work out at Friday Night Lights tonight. He is committed to Kentucky, but it sounds like, Bill, he is a strong candidate to flip to the Buckeyes if he receives an offer from Ohio State. What's your take?
Well, it was a little bit of a turnaround, or a little surprise, actually, that C.J. decided to go ahead and work out, because 2 days ago I talked to C.J. and he said he was not going to go to Friday Night Lights. He said, as he put it, he said, I'm done recruiting-wise. He said, I'm 100% Kentucky. Tim Hinton has been working on him, has been talking to him and trying to convince him to go to Friday Night Lights, and finally he just decided he would do that. Again, it's a little bit of a turnaround, because 2 days prior he was adamant that he was not going to do that. So obviously there still is some interest there as far as CJ goes, and if that offer comes, I think it's very realistic that he could flip to Ohio State. I'm not saying that he will for sure, but I think it's certainly realistic. It'll be interesting. It'll be certainly one of the top storylines, I think, to watch tonight during Friday Night Lights.
It sounds like Ohio State must have told him something that he wanted to hear from him doing a complete 180, telling you that he's 100% not coming, to all of a sudden he's coming. I wonder what Ohio State's coaches have told him. I'm sure we'll find out. Why do you think Ohio State hasn't offered up to this point, Bill? We're not talking about some three-star, under-the-radar prospect. This kid's a four-star. He's number 10 tight end in the country in Ohio State's backyard. Why do you think they haven't offered up to this point?
I think there's a lot of factors there. Certainly, one of them were having a legitimate shot at some tight ends that they had higher on their board. Chris Clark, as an example, that one went down to the wire. Went to Ohio State and Michigan won out. And I think even after he committed Chris Clark to Michigan, there still was perhaps some thought that, will this stick or whatever. But certainly that's a factor, having other tight ends on their board, such as Chris Clark, that they just felt they had a really good shot to land. Another factor, certainly, is that they've seen CJ, and that, while they've been impressed with him, simply feeling that, they maybe could do slightly better with, say, a Chris Clark, for instance, that maybe Chris Clark fits what they're looking for exactly a little better. Now, having said all that, they obviously have continued to have an interest in C.J. Conrad, and certainly tonight, is going to be an outstanding night, and it'll be interesting to see how he performs and if it is good enough that Ohio State really does decide that they, want to pull the trigger on him. And the other factor is that you look at the class of 2016 in Ohio. There's two great tight end prospects, and both are very high on Ohio State. Luke Farrell being one of them, and then the other being Jake Hausman. And interestingly, those two are scheduled to be at Friday Night Lights as well tonight. So anybody that's at Friday Night Lights, providing they all make it, Conrad, Farrell, and Hausman, are going to get to see all three in action tonight, and that'll be interesting.
That'll be fun. I can't wait. Another guy that's we think is definitely going to be there, Torrance Gibson. Now, he's definitely making the trip as far as we know right now. Right, Bill?
Well, yeah, he's been making the trip. As long as that car doesn't break down, he should make it. He's very shortly before he was ready to leave, ready to start the trip, he let me know that he was just about ready to start the trip. So as the trip has gone on, he has tweeted out messages such as, this is a long trip, going to take a plane next time, et cetera, et cetera. So, as long as things don't break down, he should be in Ohio Stadium tonight.
And maybe I'm reading too much into this, but in my opinion, you don't drive 18 to 20 hours in a car if you're not highly interested. Not just kind of interested, highly interested. I mean, I know he came up with his top 7 a while back and Ohio State wasn't in it, but realistically looking at it right now, if you had to guess who his top 3 schools are, where would you put Ohio State? Would Ohio State be in that mix, and where would they be at?
Well, I don't think it's that important where they would be right now. I think it's very important where they will be, say, at 10 o'clock tonight or midnight tonight. And I think at that point, I think Ohio State is going to be one of his top choices. In fact, I had actually two items in my special edition, What I Am Hearing, that I posted late last night. It's all about Friday Night Lights. And I had two items on Torrance Gibson, how, for a while there, everybody was saying that it was going to be Tennessee, but that's not what that I had been hearing at that time. And in fact, Tennessee, as I mentioned in What I Am Hearing, is talking more wide receiver with him, that's the coach that is talking with him a lot. And simply Torrance is not going to go to a school that intends to make him a wide receiver right away, and that he's giving the feeling that maybe Tennessee would do that. He's not going to do that. He wants a chance to play quarterback. That's all he's asking. He's not, demanding he plays quarterback his entire career in college or anything like that. He's just asking for the opportunity to show that he can be a great college quarterback. And if that didn't work out, then he would certainly be applicable to switching. But I think Ohio State is going to tell him that. It's, we're going to give you a shot at quarterback, but, if it doesn't work out, then, maybe you could end up as a wide receiver. But as long as Ohio State tells him he would get a shot at quarterback, which I think they will, then I think Ohio State's going to be very high on his list.
At Friday Night Lights tonight, we're going to have 5 staff members in attendance. Bill Kurelic, of course, Alex Gleitman, Steve Wiltfong, Steve Hellwagon, and me. Yes, we're going all in on this one. Bill, what are some of the things you're looking forward to seeing the most?
Well, I think just a great array of athletes that are going to be on the field. That's always fun to watch. And under the lights, the atmosphere will be, special. There's no doubt about that. Also, kind of a side note, it's interesting to see who all shows up from an outside the athlete standpoint. There's always some celebrities on hand, and that's always kind of fun to watch. Another thing that'll be interesting to watch is not only the guys that are performing, but what about the guys that aren't performing? Like a Torrance Gibson, he has a bruised ankle, so he's not going to work out. But just kind of watching what goes on with him. I remember 2 years ago sitting in the stadium and watching the treatment that Raekwon McMillan was getting. He wasn't working out that night, but he, certainly he was getting all kinds of special treatment from the Ohio State staff and all. They were certainly doing everything they could to entice him and show him that Ohio State was the place he needed to be, and ultimately it worked out. So I think all those things are going to be very interesting to watch.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the Bucknuts Morning 5. Take it away, best damn band in the land.